Welcome to another Health Coach Answers. I'm Coach Lindsay, and today I'm going to be answering your Mighty Health members' top 5 questions of the week. So let's go ahead and get started. Our first question is a very popular question. Actually, all of these are very popular, but the question is, how do I organize my daily routine to make time for exercise and nutrition? And this is a very valid question because how many of us find ourselves super busy in the day with, our families, our careers, appointments, maybe we're a caregiver, any of that stuff can kind of prioritize our time over ourselves. And so, when it comes to finding time for yourself, first, I like to pose the question, and this, don't feel like this question is, I don't know how to explain it, but I always ask ourselves, why do we put ourselves last? And that's, I think, a valid question to ask yourself. It doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. It doesn't mean that, everybody does that, but it's always a good question to ask yourself is why do you not prioritize your exercise and nutrition into your day when you have a busy day? So something to think about before I kind of dive into some tips. But, the first thing I would say is utilizing your calendar. And so, when it comes to planning is key. That's going to be what is going to help you, prioritize your exercise and nutrition. It's going to help you find time for your week or find time in your week. And so setting up external reminders as well. So if you, look at your week and you find 10 minutes here, 30 minutes there, schedule exercise or meal planning into your day, and then set a reminder, just like if you were to do that for a doctor's appointment. That way you have that reminder, you have that, extra stimuli to help you get excited about it. Post-it notes are another great one. It sounds silly, but posting little post-it notes all over your house, get your workout in today, or take time for yourself, take time for self-care, whatever that may look like. And then, when it comes to finding time for yourself or finding time for exercise or meal planning in your day, set realistic goals. So, when we think about fitting exercise or, meal planning into our day, we don't have to be all or nothing. And so if you look at a particular week and you see just time for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, that's great. That's something that's better than nothing. And so, use your calendar to plan, use your reminders to your advantage, set realistic goals, avoid that all or nothing, mindset that you have to be all or nothing. And then the last thing relates to the question I asked at the beginning is prioritize yourself. So make yourself a non-negotiable. Even when we have busy days and busy lives, we still make time to go to the dentist, right? Or we still make time to brush our teeth. And so hold yourself at that same standard, and it's going to be much easier to find that time and help you organize yourself into your day. So our second question kind of relates, I guess, to the first question a little bit. But I have to say this is by far 100% the most common question we get as health coaches. And it's probably, I've gotten this in every single question box with my health coach answers. And, the biggest thing is when it comes to this question of how do I stay motivated in my wellness journey, motivation is not linear, just like with everything else. Your motivation is going to come and go. Your motivation is, going to lessen. It might even disappear for a few months. Like we've talked a little bit about lapse and relapse before. So it fits into this. And there's a saying that I love that says, motivation is what gets you started, but discipline is what keeps you going. Okay. So think about that for a minute. Let that kind of settle in there that you don't have to focus on motivation, or I guess rely on motivation all of the time. And discipline is what is going to allow us to get things done when we're not feeling excited or motivated about it. So part of kind of creating that discipline is first planning for the unexpected, which kind of sounds a little silly, but we never know what's going to come up that's going to derail our motivation. There's a lot of things, illnesses, death in the family, events, stuff like that comes up that can kind of stand in our way. And so if you can have a block of strategies aside to help that. So when I say strategies for the unexpected, have a talk with yourself. If something pops up, what am I going to do to stay on track? Am I going to just focus on, water intake? Am I going to focus on walking for my movement? Whatever that looks like, find some way to still have some good habits in there when something kind of comes up. And then another thing is focus on your strengths when it comes to motivation, because we know that focusing on your weaknesses is what negative self-talks us and beats us down into decreasing our motivation. So when something comes up, don't look at what you can't accomplish, look at what you can. And, this kind of similarly fits into the first question. When you have a busy week or you have something that is standing in the way of your motivation, don't look at your week and say, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. What can you do to be successful? And even if it's one thing, that's great. Better than nothing. And then I want to talk a little bit about discipline, of course. So I mentioned, we start with motivation. I think that increases our excitement, but discipline is what keeps us going. So some things that you can do to increase your discipline. The biggest thing I would say is remembering your big why. And we talk a lot about the big why here at Mighty Health. I'm sure you have all had the question posed to you of us asking, what is your big why? And something that's helped me personally actually is getting note cards and writing down every single reason why you want to change your lifestyle, why this is important to you. And your stack may be 50, it may be 2 cards, whatever that looks like for you. Write that why down, because writing it down is going to, put it in our brain, and you can set it somewhere where you see it every day. So put it by your nightstand, put it in your workout room. And if you come up on a time where you're not feeling very motivated, or you have a workout this afternoon and you're like, oh my gosh, I just don't want to get it done, pull those cards out, read through those cards. That's going to get you excited, and it's going to help you remember why you're here and why you're doing this. And then the second thing is setting up a reward system. So nothing gets us more excited than rewards and prizes, and that's just kind of how we're driven. So if there's something fun to look forward to at the end, we're way more excited and way more motivated. So set that reward system up for yourself. I wouldn't do a food reward, so we're focusing on non-food rewards here. But an example would be, if you meet your exercise goals for 4 weeks in a row, go get a massage, or go get, a new outfit, or go do something fun with your family, something like that you have something to look forward to that can help you just stay excited, maybe when you're not feeling excited for whatever's to come. And then, sticking to that schedule is key as well with creating discipline. So similarly to the first question is, sticking to your schedule no matter what, and holding your goals at a priority. And then identifying your obstacles, of course, planning to overcome them. And then making sure you're not setting unrealistic goals that are going to make you feel defeated. So bottom line here when it comes to motivation is it's going to look different for everybody. Your motivation is going to come and go differently than someone else's, but always remember too what the long-term effect is. And so if you're not feeling excited for a workout, or you're not feeling excited to meal plan, remember how you feel after that workout or after you meal plan, and that good feeling that it brings. You never regret a workout. And so remembering that feeling can help you say, okay, let's just get it done, because I know it's going to benefit me in the long term. Okay, third question here, you guys, is how do I stay on track on weekends? And I love this question, especially this time of year, but really it rings true any time of year, that weekends are hard. They just are, and that's okay. Especially as we get into 4th of July weekend and barbecues and just holidays in general. Weekends can be tougher sticking to your goals. And I think the biggest thing to remember here is make a plan that fits your needs. And I say that because it's okay for your goals or your routine to change on the weekends as long as you have a plan still in place. And so whether that is, sticking to the same eating times as you do during the week, or maybe on the weekends you choose not to really focus on exercise, but you focus on nutrition, or vice versa. You can just find a few things to focus on the weekends, even if you're not perfect, but just be okay with that plan and stick to that plan. And then, with this too, practice makes perfect, right? So trial and error is going to come. Maybe you find that you're more successful by focusing on exercise on the weekends, but maybe not so much on nutrition, and that's okay. But remember that the weekends, they don't have to be all or nothing, and this goes both ways. You don't have to stay 100% on track on the weekends, but you also don't want to get in that mindset of, oh, the weekends are my cheat days. So having that balance is key. And also remembering worst case, that if you do fall off track completely on a weekend, it's 2 days out of a 7-day week. So regroup, get back on track on Monday, make a plan for getting back on track Monday so that you can be successful into the next week and not let that carry into your week. But yeah, weekends are tough and that's okay, but just try to find your balance and what works for you and find just 1 to 2 things to focus on that can keep you consistent. Getting there. Our 4th question. What role does water intake play on weight loss, and how much water do we need per day? And so water intake, I feel like, is one of those things that is often forgot about. Like when we think of a wellness journey, we think of exercise and nutrition, right? We don't really think a whole lot about water intake. And so to kind of address that first part of the question of what is the role in weight loss? So water is a really great appetite suppressor. So it's going to help fill you up and help you recognize the difference between true versus fake hunger. So I know there's been many of you who have felt like the need to snack or you're hungry in between meals, and taking a big chug of water really helps. And sometimes your body is signaling that it's hungry, but really what it really needs is that water. So that's one benefit. Number 2 is it really helps to circulate bad nutrients out of your body and move the good nutrients through your body. And so if you're not drinking enough water, your body is not urinating, you're not perspirating the same, you're not having the same bowel movements. And so you're not getting rid of that waste as frequently as you should be. And then keeping a normal body temperature is important as well. Lubricating and cushioning your joints, which is obviously super important as we age. Protecting the sensitive tissues. And all of those things are going to make exercise a little bit easier, and then also boost your metabolism. I'm sure many of you have heard that drinking, a cold glass of water first thing in the morning helps your metabolism, and it really does. Just getting that water intake first thing in the morning on an empty stomach can be really beneficial. So those are the many, many benefits. There's also many more to water. So how much should I be drinking? What is the recommended amount? And we've heard different things, right? We've heard half my body weight in water. We've heard 64 ounces. We've heard a gallon. And it really also kind of depends on a lot of things. So it depends on your perspiration. So how much you're sweating during your workouts. If you're sweating a lot in your workouts, you need to replenish that liquid. So you might need more. If you're on certain medications that require less or more water, that's something to take into consideration. But in general, a good rule of thumb is 64 ounces. That's plenty. It's half a gallon. That's going to keep you plenty hydrated. Another recommendation is, so this number that I'm about to tell you is total water. Okay, so not just water, but water that you get from foods, that you get from other beverages like coffee and like sodas and stuff like that. So for men, 125 ounces of fluids a day, and for women, 91 ounces. So like I said, that's not just water though. That is water from everything that you're consuming in your day. So typically 20% of your daily fluid intake will come from your foods. So that other 80% should come from water itself. So that's the recommendation. That's the role that it plays in the body. Again, water intake is going to vary person to person, depending on your overall health status, depending on, like I said, your rate of perspiration as you're working out. But in general, as long as you're getting about that 64 ounces a day, you're going to be just fine. We're getting a little bit away from the nutrition side of things and talking about exercise, which is something we haven't done a whole lot in my Health Coach Answers. So this question is, what is recommended amount of cardio and strength training for those over 50? So the CDC recommends 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise per week. And that's really for everybody. That's not, there's not really a differentiated amount for those over 50 versus below. It's just 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise. Now moderate intensity is going to look different for everybody depending on your age. But typically for the typical 50-year-old individual, 108 to 129 beats per minute is going to be your moderate zone. So that's kind of where you want to be with your 150 minutes a week. So to break that up between aerobic, strength, and then I'm also going to talk a little bit about flexibility. So aerobic, you want to get moderate to high amounts of aerobic activity 3 to 5 days per week for about 20 to 60 minutes. Now, again, that's kind of a big range, and there's a reason for that because everybody has different fitness levels, limitations, stuff like that. But as long as you're working your aerobic activity, most days of the week, that's what's recommended. We obviously know that for heart health, a bunch of different reasons for aerobic activity. And then for strength training, it's kind of similar. So we want to get that moderate intensity strength training 2 to 3 days per week. And that's especially important for those over 50 for making sure you're, keeping your bones healthy, strengthening your joints, that muscle that we tend to lose after 50. So strength training is really important. And so typically if you just alternate, cardio and strength throughout the week, you're going to be meeting that recommendation. And then something that we don't talk about a lot is flexibility and balance and range of motion exercises. And obviously those are super important as we age. So making sure you're getting those in most days of the week. And that doesn't have to necessarily be a separate workout. You're going to get flexibility, balance benefits from your aerobic and your strength training workouts as well. So just making sure you're incorporating some of that in a good, healthy balance. But I do want to touch on that is what's recommended from the CDC. So really what we want to focus on is what is beneficial for you. And what's beneficial for you is what's realistic. So if you can only get 2 to 3 days a week of exercise and you can maintain that consistently, perfect, you're doing enough. If it's 1 to 2 days, perfect, you're doing enough. So start slow, making sure you don't have to start at that 150 minutes, but that's kind of the end goal. But yeah, I think it's as long as you're getting a good combination of the two and you're, just moving your body, that's going to benefit you a whole lot, especially after the age of 50. All right, guys. Well, if we didn't get to your question, pop it in the question box for our next Health Coach Answers next week, and I'll be sure to add it to the queue. But thank you guys so much for joining. You guys have amazing questions every week, and I'll hope to see you guys next week.